So with BTG, we have our obviously our club programming, our typical 2 practices, our typical 2 tournaments a month. That's very standard in America. Now, what we offer in addition, that's the game changer. We offer monthly parent education. We offer multiple training sessions a week, including weights, including basketball training, and we watch film. And so we have our character principles. We have our 4 leadership principles, which are communication, curiosity, commitment, and and connection, right? So we teach our leadership principles, our character principles, and our goal is to prepare athletes to be successful beyond the game. Most people pay lip service, right? I've had numerous parents this year already tell me that they have been a part of a ton of different programs and nothing is like BTG. Why? I think one of the reasons is how much we really care about the kids. You are listening to the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast, transforming athletes into leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Coaches, are you ready to take your passion for coaching and turn it into a full-time career? I know the challenges firsthand, but the Make Money Coaching Sports program helped me take BTG basketball full-time. If you're tired of juggling coaching part-time and want to fully focus on doing what you love, this business accelerator will give you the tools and support to make it happen. Hit the link in the show notes below to learn more and start living your dream. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. I'm your host, Coach Furtado, and in today's episode, I am going to break down in 3 simple steps an easy way we can transform AAU basketball. And I'm sure there's actually a lot of applications to other club/travel sports. And at the end of this episode, I want you, if you find this really engaging and helpful, you can either reach out to me and just shoot me over what your thoughts are. I want to be a part of the youth sports conversation. I know that these are 3 simple steps, and they're not the only steps to changing AAU basketball. But I feel like if we address these 3, we can really transform our, the entire youth sports industry, which is my goal, which is my long-term goal, right? I don't want to just be in AAU basketball just to make money off of kids so I can make money and coach sports, which I love. And I'm going to start this and preface this with, I am an AAU director, quote unquote. I have if you have never heard me before, I have a program over here in West Los Angeles, BTG Basketball. It's a part of the Beyond the Scoreboard initiative to transform youth sports. And so I am technically a part of the problem. And so the reason I got into AAU and club basketball isn't because I love what it all stands for. It's because, number 1, as a business owner, that's where the demand is. And number 2, I love coaching teams. And number 3, it's what the kids want, right? It's what the kids want. So we have to change the system from the inside out. And so that's what we're doing over at BTG Basketball. We're doing it different. And I'll share some bonus nuggets at the end on how we are approaching club basketball differently than 99% of the organizations out there, and how and why we're getting such good results. But first, let's talk about how we should change it. And the number 1 way we need to change it is we need to have coach standardization and program standardization. There are so many coaches that I see on the sidelines that should never, ever, ever be around kids. It is absolutely disgusting. Now, I will say probably 70% of the coaches and programs are above average or good to great, right? It's not everyone. However, as me and you both know, as you're listening to this, the bad apples ruin everything. And in America, there is no coach standardization. I can literally be you don't know how many times I have smelled booze on coaches. I have seen coaches absolutely berate kids as young as 9 years old, berate them, tell them that they're horrible and that's a terrible decision. They're 9. They're 9. They're not a professional athlete, dude or dudette. It's ridiculous. It's super ridiculous. So every coach needs to be a standard certification. I don't care who does it. And in my opinion, and this is going to come back to my next point as well, is the NBA needs to get involved. In my opinion, there's no way that AAU gets changed unless the NBA gets involved. In NBA, if you have a representative listening to this, I would love to be a part of that, and I'd love to be on your board. So I'm just going to plug that out there. Now, same thing, program standardization. All the coaches in the program should have coaches education. Every single Wednesday, our coaches have a a coaches education call with me and By Any Means Basketball, who, provide education, yes, on the X's and O's. You know what's way more important than the X's and O's when it comes to youth basketball is how do we develop the character of our kids? And we talk about that every single week. We talk about how to create a psychologically safe space. We talk about modern coaching practices, because if you go and watch a ton of basketball, I watch practices, I see other coaching. It's ridiculous. You see stuff that was done in the 1960s, and we don't go to Blockbuster anymore, do we? It's ridiculous, and it pisses me off, right? And I may swear in this episode because I'm really, really passionate about this. And sometimes I do have a potty mouth, I'm not going to lie. Now, number 2, tournament rules. And I'm going to start with a big one. Some of y'all that are listening may have some other ideas that you want to prepare and present as well. And I'm totally open to that. This is not, one size fits all. Now, I think the NBA there needs to be 1 to 5 tournament organizers across the United States. Now, obviously, like, I'm in the private market, right? And there's pros and cons to having one governing body. Sometimes there can be lack of competition and sometimes lack of innovation, right? That's the pro of having an open market of tournament organizers. Now, here's the con, is there's no standardization. It's pretty much the Wild West. You get to do whatever you want, right? The coaches can coach however they want. They can, right? It's ridiculous, right? Now, maybe if we had coach standardization, that would work, because we would all the coaches that would be on every circuit that works with every kid would have an understanding of human psychology, of child development, right? And then maybe we can, go from there. However, that is not the case. So we need to have tournaments that have really strict behavior, like what is acceptable and what is unacceptable, because there is way too much unacceptable behavior in AAU basketball from the parents, from the coaches, and the athletes. Too much unacceptable behavior, and it needs to not be tolerated at all. It's ridiculous, right? This is the future of our generation, and we're just like treating it willy-nilly, right? There has to be some sort of regulations, and I am so anti-zone. It's not even funny how anti-zone I am, especially up to, like, realistically, like 10th grade. Like, that's what I really think. But 8th grade, like, that's my cutoff for sure. You should never, ever, ever be allowed to play zone defense before high school. Ever. You need to be able to teach kids how to guard the basketball, and you cannot do that in a zone. Is it effective? Can you win more games in zone? Of course. Of course. No one cares how many championships your 7th grade team wins. I'm sorry, they don't. No one cares. You're not preparing these kids for life, right? You're just not. Now, I'm not saying don't win. I'm not saying try to lose, right? I'm highly competitive, like highly competitive. You walk into one of my practices, I am one of the most competitive people you will probably ever meet. Like, I don't want to lose cards. I don't want to lose at a game of pool, right? But we have to have rules. And we put rules in place that are great for our kids, right? So I'm open to other, I'm sure those of you that are listening are like, yeah, like, I think, all 7 or 8 players should get run. Whatever your kind of thoughts are. I don't know what they are. I'm really anti-zone, like, at a certain point. Now, when it's high level basketball, varsity basketball, man, do whatever you want, right? You're playing to win, right? At the end of the day, it's competitive basketball, and that is what it is. But I'm talking about youth basketball. Developmental basketball should not have zone ever, in my opinion. At least not the entire game, right? If you want to throw it up and do some press, like, I'm okay with that personally, but primarily we should be sticking to man-to-man principles, and then, yeah, if you want to mix in a press or two, all good. My last point And of course, there's going to be more points. So I really want you to reach out and think about this. I want you to think about this as a coach and how we can change it. It's not just going to be BTG basketball. We got By Any Means basketball, Adapt Academy. We got Transforming basketball. And there's, I'm sure, a ton of other great organizations that I'm, not hitting on that really do a great job. So last thing would be just to make it more accessible. Like, it's really hard. It's really expensive, right? And I know my product is expensive. Number one, it's very valuable. And number two, my costs are really high. So how can we lower the costs? And, that is probably the age old question in anything, right? Talk about clean energy, whatever it is, right? You have to try and figure out how do we reduce the cost for the business owners, because the business owners have to pass it on, because I want to make a living. I have bills to pay. I got my dog in my shirt. I don't think you can, if you can see me, he's 7-pound Chiweenie, if you know him, right? I got bills to pay, right? Just like all the directors have bills to pay and the coaches have bills to pay. So we have to charge money. So how can we figure out ways to collaborate and partner with the NBA, the junior NBA, to subsidize a lot of, this programming for kids? Because it's hard. It's hard for families, especially here in Los Angeles. Like, clubs are spread out all across. It's hard to find gym time. If you find a gym, maybe your gym's an hour away from where you are. It would be 15 minutes if there's no traffic, but it's an hour. It's hard. It's really hard. So how can we make it more accessible? I'm going to more pose it as a question than give an answer, because I don't really know if I have the answer. I want to be a part of the solution in the long term. And that's why we created the BTG Athletics Foundation. Right? We created that to give scholarships to kids who may not be able to afford our transformative programming. And now, talking about our transformative programming, like, how is BTG really changing the game? And so we have, because there's so many costs, like, you got a trainer and you got this and you got that. So with BTG, we have our obviously our club programming, our typical 2 practices, our typical 2 tournaments a month. That's very standard in America. Now, what we offer in addition, that's the game changer. We offer monthly parent education. We offer multiple training sessions a week, including weights, including basketball training, and we watch film. And so we have our character principles. We have our 4 leadership principles, which are communication, curiosity, commitment, and what I say, curiosity and connection, right? So we teach our leadership principles, our character principles, and our goal is to prepare athletes to be successful beyond the game. Most people pay lip service, right? I've had numerous parents this year already tell me that they have been a part of a ton of different programs and nothing is like BTG. Why? I think one of the reasons is how much we really care about the kids. And I'm not saying that other programs don't care. Like, I do know that there are a lot of other great programs. I don't say that to say BTG is the only program, right? I want to partner with other programs that really care about kids, right? And you can tell, right? Like Sherry of Forward Movement, she's been on the podcast before. She does a great job with the girls basketball team. We got Vic Coast out here in Santa Monica. He does a lot of good things with the kids with Venice ball and just taking them out. Like, you want to provide experiences with kids beyond the game of basketball. Like, that's what it's all about. How are we preparing our young men and our young women to be leaders in this world? Because Lord knows, right, whether you're on the right or you're on the left, our political landscape, our leadership landscape, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. It makes me sad to see the leadership that's in office now and how we treat people. And yeah, those are really my thoughts on how to fix AAU on a surface level. Obviously, this is a significantly deeper conversation. There are people that have been in this industry significantly longer than me. And so those are just some of my thoughts. And I'll leave you with this, right? We need you, this coach. Obviously, you care about fixing AAU. Obviously, you care about kids if you listen to this podcast all the way through. I just ask that you reach out to other coaches that are in your community. Like, don't compete. Don't tear down other coaches, right? And I think that's the big thing I'm trying to get out there. Don't tear down other coaches. If you find another coach who has a great program, promote them, right? Like, we need each other. If we're really in this to impact kids, it's not about us. So appreciate you all. Coach Furtado, share this with a coach friend, with an administrator, with a director. I want to be a part of the movement to change youth sports. So Coach Furtado, out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend, coach, or parent you feel like would get value from this episode. It's our responsibility to impact as many parents and coaches who are the ones that are impacting our athletes. That's how we create a ripple effect. So thank you for being a part of our community, and we look forward to serving you all next week.